Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. And today we're going to have a look at the second part on prefix pro, verb prefix pro. Last week I talked about motion verbs. I told you how to say I went through the forest, prošla jsem lesem, prošla jsem les, I went and explored the forest. Or how to say that something is expired, mléko prošlo. Or how to say that somebody got away with something or didn't. Neprošlo ti to, you didn't get away with it. And now we're going to have a look at more verbs, excluding those motion verbs. They're already covered. In case you missed it, you can watch it here. I'll give you a couple of verbs with the prefix pro, and I divided it again according to the function that each verb would have when giving this particular prefix. Remembering the categories or the function is not that important. It's just my way of dividing this video. And we're going to start by the first function of the prefix pro, and that would be the movement through, to go through something. For example, the verb provrtat. Provrtat se. Do you know what vrtat is? Vrtat je tohle. It's to drill. Vrtačka, vrtat. Vrtat. Can you hear the sound in there? Vrr. Vrtat. Provrtat is this picture. To drill through. Provrtám tenhle karton. Provrtala jsem karton. You see? It's through. Provrtala jsem ho. So this describes the function perfectly. The drill went through this cardboard, just like the picture. Provrtat. Zeď byla tak slabá, že se provrtal na druhou stranu. The wall was so thin that he drilled through the other side. Zeď byla tak slabá, že se provrtal na druhou stranu. Prožít means to live through. As you can see, the verb žít is here, which means to live. Prožít. We use it when we want to describe how somebody lived their life. And we want to say that it was nice or that it was painful. We want to describe what kind of life this person lived through. Or when we want to mention the events that this person lived through. These events don't have to be very specific. For example, babička a dědeček spolu prožili krásný život. Grandma and grandpa lived together a beautiful life. Babička a děda spolu prožili krásný život. They lived together, lived through. The verb provést means to lead through. That would be one of the meanings. Vést is to lead, provést is to lead through, to guide through. Provedu vás po městě. I'll guide you through the city. I will show you around the city. Provedu vás po městě. You might know this noun that comes from this particular verb, and that is průvodce, a guide. Either a guidebook or an actual person, a tour guide. Průvodce. Průvodce provádí, the tour guide guides through. Propadnout se. Propadnout. The movement would be from top to bottom. Propadnout. Like this. Fixa mi propadla mezi prsty. The marker fell through my fingers. Fixa mi propadla mezi prsty. Or imagine you're walking on something very unstable or fragile. You might fall through, it might break. If you go and explore a very old house, somebody can tell you, pozor, ať se nepropadneš. Ta podlaha je stará. Careful so that you don't fall through. The floor is old. Pozor, ať se nepropadneš. Second meaning, figurative meaning, would be that something expires, such as a reservation. We don't use this for goods, but when you have some kind of reservation or a voucher. Rezervace nám propadla před půl hodinou. The reservation expired half an hour ago. Pročíst, pročíst si, it's to read through, to read something carefully. If you remember my video from last week, I was talking about the second meaning that you can also say projít si něco. To go through something, to skim through. Proletět si seznam, projít si seznam. If you want to emphasize that you are going to read through it, then you can say pročíst. Pročti si úvod a pak mi řekneš, co si o tom myslíš. Read through the introduction and then you will tell me what you think about it. Pročti si úvod a pak mi řekneš, co si o tom myslíš. Pročti. Do not confuse this with the verb přečti, because přečti is just the perfective verb of číst. So if I say přečti si to, přečíst, přečti si to, I'm just telling you read it. And I'm not telling you I want an outcome or something. Pročti si to means that you should read it a little bit more carefully, or maybe I want you to be more critical because I want to know your opinion, etc. The second function of this prefix is to do something thoroughly or entirely. I added these symbols to do something really well, such as the verb promyslet, promyslet si. Myslet is to think. So when you say musím to promyslet, you mean I need to think it through. I need to think about it entirely, very well. Yes, it could maybe be in the first category, but I wanted to emphasize that this is something that needs to be done very well. Promyslet si. And then look at this verb, probrat. Probrat has more meanings, but here I want to talk about the one that we use a little bit more, and that is the figurative meaning. Probrat means to discuss. Even if we wanted to say we discuss something very well, we would say prodiskutovat. Prodiskutovat. And that would be the formal verb. Whereas probrat is the one we use on daily basis. It's a colloquial language. Probereme to na obědě. We'll talk about it over lunch. Probereme to na obědě. Prohledat. What do you think this is? Hledat is to look for or search. Prohledat, to search really well. As you can see in the movies, when a person is caught, they usually say, prohledejte ho, search him. Prohledejte ho, or prohledejte ji, search her. Prohledat, to search thoroughly. Prohlédnout, it might be difficult for you to guess what it is, because the base form is hledět. Hledět, which is an archaic verb of looking. Hledět. And prohlédnout is to look at something well. Usually when you go to an exhibition and you want to see the paintings or the other items. Na výstavě jsme si prohlédli dobové oblečení. At the exhibition we looked at period clothes. Na výstavě jsme si prohlédli dobové oblečení. Prohlédli jsme si. We looked at that very well. And we use a noun prohlídka, which you are also familiar with, probably. Prohlídka is a tour, because it's where you are looking at things thoroughly. And the last verb from this category is probudit se. Probudit se is to wake up, when you wake yourself up. And also it can be that somebody wakes you up and they would not have this reflexive part. Probudit. Počkej, až se pořádně probudím. Wait till I'm entirely awake. Wait until I wake up entirely. Počkej, až se pořádně probudím. This is what you say to somebody who's just speaking too much in the morning. I would also like to point out that I have a worksheet for this video as well, and you will find the link below the video, or also you can see it here. Let's focus on pronunciation here. Remember, it's pronounced as pro, not pro. Although the prefix pro comes from Latin and it's also widely used in English, here it's pronounced as pro. Promyslet, probrat, prohledat, prohlédnout, probudit se. I'm going to be brief in this category. The third function describes that we spend the time doing a certain activity. We cannot apply it to many verbs, but there are certain verbs that are typical with this prefix. For example, prospat, to sleep through. Celou přednášku jsem prospal. I slept through the entire lecture. Celou přednášku jsem prospal. Sentences with these verbs in this category would often have this adjective. Celý, celou, celé. The entire in accusative case. Celou přednášku jsem prospal. Or if I'm watching a very sad, emotional movie, I would say celý film jsem probrečela. I cried through the whole movie. Celý film jsem probrečela. Celé odpoledne propršelo. It rained through the entire afternoon. Celé odpoledne propršelo. There are also a few examples that when you add pro to them, they describe a certain loss. You lose something. For example, in a game. Prohrát. Prohrát means to lose in a game. You might remember the prefix vy. Vyhrát was to win in a game and prohrát is to lose. Naši zase prohráli. Our team lost again. Naši zase prohráli. You could also say náš tým, but we commonly say naši. It's like our team or our country. Prodělat means to lose money. When you want to talk about a deal that is not profitable, you lose money in it, then the losing money would be described with this verb. Prodělat. Prodělat. To lose money. Deal in slang is kšeft. Kšeft. So you can say, to byl teda kšeft. Prodělal jsem spoustu peněz. What a deal. I lost a lot of money. To byl ale kšeft. Prodělal jsem spoustu peněz. Note that prodělat is not the only meaning. We can also have another function and I describe it in my worksheet. The prefix pro can also describe something being let out or this motion out. For example, when we speak, promluvit, to speak up, start speaking. So you can imagine somebody lets their words out. Konečně promluvil. He finally spoke. He finally started speaking. Konečně promluvil. Projevit se or projevovat se. Here I gave you examples of the imperfective too. Remember that although I give you mostly only perfective forms as examples, they most of the time also have their imperfective counterparts. These two verbs mean to manifest. Something shows, lets itself to be seen. If you're an artist or painter, you can say projevil zájem o moje obrazy. Showed interest in my paintings. Projevil zájem o moje obrazy. Projevit zájem. So, projevit zájem is a common collocation to show interest. Or something can be manifested by itself. Projevit se, projevovat se. Jak se projevuje ta nemoc? How does the disease manifest itself? How is the disease manifested? How do you recognize it? Jak se projevuje ta nemoc? And now we are at the end of our video with our last category, with other functions. The functions are not very clear. These verbs are imperfective, and this is a perfective example. We'll start with the perfective example. Prominout. Prominout means to forgive. I bet you know this phrase. Promiňte or promiň. This means forgive or excuse me. Usually you use this phrase when you want to get the attention of a stranger and ask them for directions, etc. But what you are actually saying is, forgive me for bothering you, blah, 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 I would like to ask. Promiňte. If you ask for someone's forgiveness, you can say, promiňte mi to. Forgive me that thing I did. Promiňte mi to. Or if it's a friend and you want to be informal, you would say promiň mi to. Promiň mi to. Ano, prominu ti to. Yes, I'll forgive you. Ano, prominu ti to. Now the imperfective verbs. Prodávat. I am pretty sure you know this. Prodávat or the perfective form prodat is to sell. Prodávám ojeté auto. I'm selling a used car. Prodávám ojeté auto. Proplácet or proplatit on the other side. Proplatit. And this will give you a hint. Platit. To pay. Proplatit, proplácet. It's to pay, to reimburse. To pay back. Firma mi proplácí benzín. The company pays for my gas. The company reimburses me for gas. Firma mi proplácí benzín. And the last one, prodlužovat. It's hard to tell, but it has something to do with dlouhý. Dlouhý. Prodlužovat is to extend, to make longer. Prodlužujeme otevírací dobu. We are extending our opening hours. Prodlužujeme otevírací dobu. A to je ode mě všechno. I know this was a lot of information, but you can just pick a couple of phrases that you like, verbs that you think that will be useful for you. And you don't even have to think about what kind of function it is. Just learn those phrases. And if you want to learn some more, check my worksheet. Everything I said in this video is in that worksheet, plus additional verbs and example sentences, plus exercises and solutions. You will also find information from the previous video included in this worksheet. Motion verbs with pro. Mějte se krásně a uvidíme se za týden. Ahoj!